talking. She's home with her roommate Jeannie, who is a reporter for a newspaper called the Cambridge Connection. So she's talking to Jeannie in her bedroom. Ta-da! My debut, my first board meeting had arrived, and I was in the midst of an anxiety attack. Act like the senior management you are, I urged myself. Not only was I no longer the vassal I'd been at the ad agency, I owned my own fiefdom. So why didn't I feel like the lady of the manor? Dressing to impress might help. I requested Jeannie's assistance with outfit selection. We were standing before a closet designed for a leprechaun. This was in fact okay, since I possess a leprechaun-sized wardrobe. All my clothes have a story, and by the same author. Her name is eBay. Jeannie bit her lower lip, worrying her eyebrows as if pondering the secrets of black holes, instead of which outfit in my wardrobe would be most likely to make our board of trustees, my boss's bosses, think they had the next Hillary Clinton on their team. Jeannie had a theory. Actually, Jeannie has many theories, but that day's had to do with the psychology of clothes. Dress for the job you want, not the one you have. Who will you be in the future? I picked Senior VP for Marketing at Microsoft. You sound like my dad. I want the job I have now, with more money. Then dress like money. She thought she was Stephen Hawking at the moment. I gave myself over to her completely. Here, try this. She was holding one of my fashion mistakes. It had looked great in the picture, but the rust-colored suit I'd viewed online had materialized with a 2 sizes too small jacket and tiny skirt in an unspeakable tan shade that made me look like a hooker with hepatitis. This is a joke, right? I thought it fit you like a glove. Unless you want my money to come from guys yelling, "How much, baby?" on a street corner, I think I'll pass. In fact, give me that. I threw it in my bag of clothes designated for the battered women's shelter, where my eBay mistakes became someone else's help in getting a fresh start. Okay, this. Of course, my other suit. A striped number with big buttons on the cuffs and a knee-length skirt. Classy with a bit of pizzazz. About half an hour before the board meeting, I was chatting with Betty. Betty is Hal's assistant, who effectively runs the place, whose office lay just outside Hal's, when I spied a plaid apparition, an 80-ish dowager in head-to-toe Burberry, and I mean literally, from hat to jacket to boots, accompanied by a rat-sized yapping Yorkie in matching sweater, tethered to his owner by a leash of the same signature design. I thought even the Burberry people would have yelled, "Stop!" at the umbrella. As dowager and dog drew closer, I became nearly blinded by the woman's left bosom, upon which perched a gigantic, in fact nearly life-sized replica of the clamorous canine, wrought in enamel with precious stones for eyes, mouth, and nostrils. Hal hastened to the door, ushered her in. "Hi there, sis," he said, as she extended her hand for a wobbly shake. "You're looking wonderful today. And how's my favorite Yorkie? Hey there, Puddin'-Face." He stooped down for a cuddle and a lick. "It's lovely to see you, Mr. Mason, as always," Sis replied. As Hal rose from his crouch, he said, "Diane, I'd like you to meet one of APO's most outstanding board members, Sis Reed. Diane Salvi is our new communications director." Sis smiled, and we shook hands. "May I asked, gesturing at Puddin'-Face. "Of course, dear," replied Sis. "There's nothing sweeter than the feel of a dog's tongue on my hand." That's a little bit of an introduction to some of the other characters. And here's one more section I'm going to read, which is a little further on in the book. I headed to the lunchroom for some late morning mud. Who was this? Philosophy major / would-be rock star / poet, judging from the milky pallor, height of around 5'6", black, geeky cool rock star glasses, and a hairline inching backwards. Andrew in everything but hair. Andrew is her lamented former boyfriend. "Where's the sugar around here?" he asked as he poured some Java into an APO mug featuring our logo and a trio of basset hounds. I obligingly opened the cabinet above the sink, inquiring, "1 envelope or 2?" He took 3, saying, It's got to taste like coffee ice cream. Hey, me too, I replied. So I guess you work here. Writer in residence, PR, brochures, stuff like that. You? Actually, I write too, working on a novel. Starving artist. He laughed. I managed to put food on the table. All legally, I hope. He laughed again. His teeth resembled perfectly formed chiclets. Since I left Colgate junior year, I've been lifeguarding, bartending, rewriting unintelligible Japanese appliance manuals. You sure have lots of variety in your day. You could look at it that way. I look at it as a bunch of checks. I took a slug of coffee. So what's your interest in APO, I asked. My dad works here. I'm picking him up for lunch. Really? What department? Actually, he's the big gun. You know, how? Nothing came out of my mouth. You look like you just swallowed a bug. I did. But of course he was Hal's son. He had his eyes, though the mouth definitely hailed from the Joyce side of the family. Let's take inventory here. My boss's son appeared to be flirting with me, a boss about whom I was starting to harbor some serious doubts. Rule number 1 in that great workplace manual in the sky, no dating the boss, asterisk, another asterisk, or his offspring. So, do you have any questions about me? And I'm glad to see all these people here, including some unexpected and some people I haven't seen in a long time. Any questions?
Does she end up having a romance? You have to buy the book.
Have to buy the book.
All right, we'll play.
Yes.
I have a question. So, did you know where you were going with the book when you started?
No, yes and no. There were some things I knew. I knew I wanted it to be mostly about the relationship between this young woman and her boss. I knew that he was going to be of questionable ethics and that she was going to try to figure out what was really going on with him because the board was he had a charming side and the board of directors, who are his bosses, are very charmed by him, but his staff knows better. And so that part I knew. The setting was not something I knew. I knew I wanted it to be in a nonprofit organization. And initially, God knows where this came from, I was going to set the book in a museum of Asian art. Where this came from, I don't know, except I may have recently visited the Japan Society in New York. And maybe that inspired me, and also I had worked for the Smithsonian when I was just out of college, so I knew the museum world a little bit. And the fact is, I'm kind of a lazy writer. I don't want to do a ton of research and delve deeply into a world that I know nothing about and have to exhaustively find out about that world. So not that I knew very much about an animal shelter organization, because I didn't, other than having adopted a couple of dogs from them. But it seemed like something that I could get a handle on and really get to know and also make up stuff about without really running too far afoul of the truth. If you read the book, you will find a section in the book that has to do with something that I know absolutely nothing about. And when you get to that part, you will realize that I made a few phone calls and really had to talk to some really interesting and very different people from anybody else I know to learn the information that I learned about this particular thing. I'm not going to say any more about it, but when you read the book, you're going to say, wait, how did she know about this book? So that's the one part that I did do some research about.
Well, that answer sold a few more copies.
Exactly. Are you a plant?
Oh, Sonia.
Was it hard to come up with a title for it?
Yes! Yes, it was. And there are two people in this room I have to thank, and I will tell you. The first title of this book, I'm really embarrassed to tell you what it was, but I will anyway. It was called Him Jr. And the reason was H, capital I, capital M, because his name is Harold I. Mason Jr. So that was the name of the book for probably half of its 10-year life. And then I asked a couple of friends who are here in this room I asked a lot of people for ideas for a better title. And can I say who they are? They don't, I don't think they even remember who they are. But Bev Zebrak and Nicholas Boileau both independently gave me this title. Did you remember that? Did you remember? You do remember. Sorry, founders. So the title, it's funny how, and I think this is a common phenomenon, how you could actually write an entire book and come up with plot and characters and setting and all that stuff, and then the damn title is like stymies you, and you just don't know what to do, and I really struggled with this, so thank you guys. Bill.
Are there any autobiographical bits in there from your dogs?
From my dog?
Or hurt yourself.
From my dog? Well, the book is dedicated to Freddie, who passed away in December. And there's one, yes, Freddie puts in an appearance. As far as me, let's just say people who know me really well might start to think that Diane sounds a little familiar. And there are other things about, I should say, caveat, Hal is not based on anybody in particular. He's a literary construct. I made him up. However, there are certain things that he does, some pretty obnoxious things, that were done by real people with whom I worked, to me, or said to me by certain of these people. So it is definitely, it's a mix of fact and fiction. It's fiction. I will swear to that on a stack of Bibles till they put me in jail. But the fact is that I did draw a fair amount from life experience. Roxanne?
Did you go to a lot of different shelters, animal shelters,
No.
to get ideas? No.
No, I didn't.
your
I
own-
went to the two that I adopted my two dogs from. So I got a sense of kind of what they were like and how they operate. And, you know, it could be that the shelter people are going to be all over me and say, we don't do this and we don't do that and that doesn't sound right. And that may happen, and I may have, you know, just misspoken or mischaracterize things, but it's fiction, ultimately. I think what is important to me is that it feels real, and that it has an air of authenticity to it. So even if it's not exactly the way, I mean, I think, in fact, when you're writing humor, which I hope this is somewhat humorous, when you write, humor is very rarely grounded in actual logical fact, because if it were, it wouldn't be funny. What makes it funny is the way in which it deviates, even just a little bit, from how things really are. I mean, think about stand-up comics, they're full of exaggeration. And I have to say, I have to announce something, because there's somebody who just walked into the room without whom this book
Damn the train.
I would not be sitting here with this book. I mentioned earlier that there's an organization in Boston called Grub Street, which provides all kinds of wonderful services to writers. And, you know, after years and years, oh, here's another wonderful person, my daughter, who, by the way, she took the photograph for this book. Well, I'm skipping all over the place. I'm going back to Grub Street, and then I'll get to the other thing. So Grub Street provides a lot of things, and courses, seminars, workshops, and one of the things they provide is editing services. And I had a lot of friends and friends of friends read this book over the years and weigh in and comment on it. My book group did it, and they were fabulous. And at the end of the day, it just seemed like I needed more. And a friend said, you need to get yourself a book doctor. And I thought, what's a book doctor? So it's an editor, somebody who will help you structure and shape this book. So I went to Grub Street and I looked at the list of what they call consultants who might be a good fit for this book, people who do fiction, who handle humor, and I was given there were two people that I picked, and I was assigned, fortunately, the fabulous Michelle who I feel like over the past 4 years or so, I feel like I have gotten a private MFA in creative writing with Michelle. She has taught me so much, and she's just an incredible resource, an incredible teacher, an incredible writer. She herself has written a book called, oh my God, Michelle, don't tell me.
Andi is one of the hardest workers I've ever seen in writing. The Quickening.
The Quickening. The Quickening is a wonderful, wonderful book, and you should all read it. And it's Michelle's. It was reviewed very respectfully in the New Yorker, so you know it hasn't.
But anyway, Andi, how quickly you were always making revisions and how you're moving through the book. I mean, it was just so impressive. She'd make these huge leaps. She was really fun to work with, really wonderful. And it is a damn funny book. I think.
And she saw it way back when it really wasn't so good. And what I was going to say is, so the picture on the back is me holding a hedgehog. And it says in the front, there's a photo credit that I called into the publisher at the last minute, and they misunderstood, and it says, cover photo by Fidney Zelenka. And my lovely daughter is in fact named Sydney. And this picture, people wonder, what are you holding there? And Sydney had decided at one point that she was thinking about getting a hedgehog. And so we decided to go, this was just a few weeks ago, we went up to New Hampshire to a hedgehog breeder. And we looked at all these hedgehogs. And I picked one up, and Sydney took the picture. And I liked the picture, and I thought it was very pertinent for this book to have a picture of me with an animal. If Freddie had still been with us, I would have had a picture with Freddie. But alas, Freddie is now in a box on the dresser. So that's not possible. So this is the next step.
Too much information.
Too much information. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions?
Thank you, Andi, very, very much.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Andi will be signing copies of her book out front. The only thing I would ask is if you purchase your copy before you have her sign it. And then I won't have to tackle you.
Oh, and the other thing is, there's a lot of food out there. Please eat it. Fabulous.